Fear is the basic motivation in human beings, unless we come from our hearts. So, biologically speaking, fear is the motivation for all action, good or bad. In fact, the bad motivation is when we suppress ourselves. So, when fear does not become expressed in a positive way, as in action, we hold it back with our minds. We suppress that energy that is coming through into our muscles for activity. We stop that dead, and now we go into inaction. We cower, we become passive, we become fearful, but not fearful in an active way. We become fearful as in we don't trust our anger. We don't trust ourselves. We don't do that because we're not safe.
Mhm.
So, I mean, animals do that. Animals have fight, flight, or passivity.
Mhm.
Play dead, possum.
I thought you human had also fight, flight, and freeze.
And freeze, yes. It's a good in when you are a herbivore and a carnivore is stalking you and they're on top of you and they caught you. If you can play dead, the chances of surviving that encounter increase exponentially because they only like live meat. They don't want dead meat. And if you're totally dead, then they may change their mind if they're not that hungry. We do that. We paralyze ourselves. And sometimes that paralysis can last for years and years and years. Catatonic, we go into a catatonic space. We can't think, everything goes blank. We go listless, we've got no energy, we're depressed. All of that is part of that suppressing of the fight or flight. We don't do one or the other. And invariably behind that, there's sort of childhood experience we never got to express. So to counteract that, I was thinking this morning, I was contemplating joy and laughter. Some people can't laugh. I know that I was very serious for many, many years. And to be able to laugh with abandon, those moments when your tummy hurts because you're laughing so hard, and you come out of that and, suddenly you can see the world clearly. Before, the world was cloudy and drab and grey. And then for whatever reason, you've had this laughter and, the world is so different. Now, my wife Jenny and I, many years ago, she was going through a terrible place of grief that she wasn't really dealing with it. She wasn't coming to grips with. She was going into the black hole. And I suggested, let's go to the Netherlands. We'll have some magic mushrooms. We'll go for a weekend, have some magic mushrooms. So we went there and we laughed and we laughed. I'm not saying take magic mushrooms to laugh. You don't need to take magic mushrooms to have a good laugh. But at that moment, she did. And all that grayness and darkness just went. And the sunlight came into her psyche once more. And she was back to herself. She had done a reset in herself. She got stuck in a groove of unexpressed grief. And now she could see the world in context. And she was back to her old self. When I was doing my training 30 odd years ago as a Taoist. One of the things we learned, one of the basics was laughter, learning to laugh. And that was very helpful to me at the time because I was dead serious. And I practiced joy, to connect with joy. And that reminds me that I've said I would do a little video on joy, but essentially the way it worked for me at the time was that I began to connect with my internal organs, and I would bring, first of all, joy, like to laugh with the corners of the mouth, to add the eyes into the smile. So it's just a little smile, because when we really laugh, we laugh with our eyes as well as the mouth. So begin with those. And then I would connect with my internal organs, and I would bring that sort of smile to my internal organs. And then one day I thought of my internal organs would want to smile to me. So then I went into my internal organs and I let my internal organs, I was my internal organs smiling back at me. And when I did that, I was filled with such joy, such laughter in my face, in my heart, that it was static. It was an ecstatic experience when the whole of my organism was laughing with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped to dispel the cobwebs in my head. Because part of the reason why we're serious in life is because our hearts are shut. We close our hearts to protect ourselves from the world. I understand that, you were explaining at the beginning, and that's what you were actually saying. I have to protect my heart, so everything holds back. Mm-hmm. We learn that when we're very young. We need to protect ourselves in the world, and that's the sad bit about us. But the opposite is to connect with joy. You cannot connect with joy unless you connect with your heart. You have to be in your heart to experience joy. Mm-hmm. And we can all do that. Unless we're totally switched off, locked tight, there's always a little bit through, however little. And that little ray of sunshine will come through our hearts. All we have to do is connect with that, connect with a smile, connect with our eyes, and begin to look at ourselves softly, but look at our internal organs, because our emotions are part of the internal organs. There's a symbiosis between the emotions we label as this, that, or the other, like say anger to do with the liver, fear to do with kidneys, grief to do with the lungs, joy or seriousness, depending which way you go, to do with the heart. Yeah. Spleen to do with sympathy. We all have essential needs, and they resonate with the internal organs. So by connecting with the internal organs and smiling, we can begin to turn that around little by little.